presentation. My first and final point will be this. As Don told you, the students found my class a waste of time, so I do want to tell you why that was the case. No, not true. It was really a sense of, it was a great, what we're doing is in itself a startup, trying to pilot how can students best learn. And because we both come out of an academic background, I'm a professor at the University of San Francisco School of Management. I think our inclination is, well, giving good theory and then putting it into practice. And I guess our experience was practice helped them think more about theory, rather than let's give them a framework and then set them loose somewhere, if that makes sense. That sometimes you need to have a personal emotional experience, a series of intellectual emotional challenges that then prepare you to say, wow, now I need to learn some more things. And I should say that Eddie spends some time with the students coming over, preparing them for what it might be like in a Silicon Valley type of experience. So given all those things, this is why we're morphing into Change University. And not only is that a kind of a programmatic shift, it's a branding shift because we did a merger, an acquisition of a company called Change University that already was sending students on internships, and it just accelerated our capacity to provide great internships. So if I could say, look, would you like to go to Morocco and help a small social enterprise be able to create fresh water systems at affordable rates to the local population? They really need somebody, they're not very good at social media, they need someone to go for 3 months and work with them. Or I was just in Bulgaria, and there's a group that's doing this very creative farm to consumer, cutting out the grocery store, vegetables and fruits directly from the farmer to the consumer. And it's all online, except of course the delivering the food. And they admitted we don't have anybody that can read data analytics on who's coming onto our site, what their activity looks like. Could you find someone who could come and set up a data analytics interpretation system for us? What a great thing for a graduate student or a very mature undergraduate student to go into the field and do that for 3 to 6 months in Bulgaria. Right? So it comes out of our classroom experience where I would provide some almost kind of like 2.0, building on what Eddie had already done here, around okay, what does social entrepreneurship look like, and it's what I do in the classroom. But we just felt that the payoff or the return on my teaching was not that great. Where we found the return or the growing happen was when we just threw them in the field. And in a sense, it was like, imagine you don't know how to swim. You go, okay, I'm going to go to America and learn to swim. And you get there, and we pick you up and throw you into the deep end of the pool. That's what we did. And we found that was very valuable. Very challenging, as Don indicated, for a lot of the students, because they are used to a professor giving them very explicit direction on what they should do, right? Here's your assignment, this is how you should do it. And they come to me and say, well, what should we do? I said, I don't know, you tell me, what should you do? And there's got to be this like deer in the headlight look. Well, you're not going to tell me what to do? No, it's up to you. Well, what's the right thing to do? I said, I don't know. Well, how are you going to grade me? I don't know. Scary, right? So, it really was, in a sense, you're going to be an entrepreneur, either a good entrepreneur or a bad entrepreneur, but you will be an entrepreneur to figure this out. And they did, and I think that was the greatest confidence builder, was, the same if we threw them into a pool in Bulgaria, you're going to now do data analytics. They said, well, I know how to work the system, but how am I going to communicate that? How am I going to create a reporting system? I go, no, that's your challenge, right? So, I thought I'd walk through one exercise we did and what we learned through it. I like this example because of the fact that it builds on yesterday's conversation of what is a social enterprise. And what I find, Jonathan and I had a conversation yesterday about language. He said when someone says impact investing or social enterprise, what exactly does that mean? And I said, that's the problem. It means a lot of different things to lots of different people. And I find in a more immature social enterprise environment that we exist kind of emerging, it's finding its own identity, that as long as everything is hit with a hammer, we call it a nail. Right? So we have one hammer, one tool, that must be a social enterprise. And so, you know, a company that makes socks and they give a pair to the homeless for every pair that you buy, we call it a social enterprise. Another company that employs homeless people to make socks that we sell to the marketplace, that's an enterprise, a social enterprise. But they tend to be very, in my sense, simplistic and direct. That it has to have a very, oh, okay, I see this bottle, pour in that coffee, that makes a beverage, right? So it's very literal. And so I guess as we mature, and I think this was really interesting yesterday with some of your examples, Paul, is that, well, really it's a business, but it's a social enterprise, right? And Mars is trying to figure out how do we match our theory of what a good economy looks like to a modern corporation that has a $40 billion production and retail operation. So, what I wanted to do is I want to do more and more of challenging companies who come to Just Business. They are competitive technology or apparel or food companies, and they compete in the marketplace, and then they say, but I want to be a social enterprise. How would I embed a different DNA inside my company? And so I guess my challenge to all of us is, and to my students who come, can any company be a social enterprise? And if so, what would be the pathway for that company? How do we design business for the future so that all of business is about people, planet, and profit? It's not exclusive, and this is where the conversation around, you know, a ghetto called B Corporation or a ghetto called social enterprise, to me, it doesn't give us the big enough challenge to create companies that embed goodness no matter what you do. All right, so, company comes to me, and it's called Velocity. And here's it. They presented it, they're trying to figure, every good company is solving a problem. So here's the problem. Netflix, the company Netflix, not what you're downloading with the corporate. They, like every other company, like their neighbor in Silicon Valley, eBay, they want to recruit the best people in the world. And then across the other side of Silicon Valley is Tesla. They want to recruit the best people. Then down in LA, you have Disney. They want to recruit the best people. And then you have also Hyperloop, you know, Elon Musk's new company that's going to create fast mobility. You don't even need a train. Okay. All these companies are competing. And they hire people from New York, Seoul, Shanghai, Bonn, and Berlin. And they hire them and bring them into wherever their headquarters is, Los Angeles, San Francisco. So when these people are moving, let's say they hire you, and you are going to be going from Seoul to the Silicon Valley area, and you're going to work at eBay or Netflix. What they'll typically do is they'll say, okay, here's $10,000 so that you can hire a movie van company to pack all your stuff up and ship it across to America. And when you land in San Francisco, here's an apartment for 6 weeks while you look for a place of your own. And show up at work in 2 weeks. So you're like now moving to a new community, right? At least someone's going to be moving your stuff for you. And when you land, you have an apartment, and now you're looking for an apartment. Oh my gosh, I have kids. What school am I going to put them into? My teeth hurt. I got to find a dentist. I don't know any dentist. I like going to a health club. I want to go to good health. You know, all the things of orientation while you're also starting a new job in a new culture. So Velocity is a relocation quickly company called like Velocity, quickness, but Velocity. And what they do is they provide you a concierge. Right? So Eddie's going to move to San Francisco. Eddie, here's 3 profiles of potential concierge. This one's more or less your age and gender. This one's a little bit older. This one is, you know, whatever the profile, you can choose what profile you think would be the best concierge. And they'll help you. They're at your service. hey, I'd like to find some apartments in this area, this kind of residential area. Okay, here's some options for you. Here's some health clubs in your area. Here's all the list of things. They take care of it. And Netflix will pay that concierge on your behalf. All right? So the concierges themselves are not employees of Velocity. It's like Uber or Airbnb. It's an on-demand, it's a social company. So that they are, in a sense, their own boss. And they are then, you are given that profile, you choose them. And if they aren't working out, you just push the button, eject. They go away, someone new comes in, because you want to make sure you have a great experience. All right. So this company came to us. You can imagine all of the services over here, the vendor partners. I need a tax accountant. I need new furniture. I need all of those services that the concierge, the personal host, is able to mediate to the transferring employees, and Velocity is in the center of that. So they said, look, we would love to embed social goodness into our company. You go, oh, well, you're not a social enterprise. You don't work with the homeless. You're not a social enterprise. You're not trying to change the global warming. You see what I mean with the literal nature of when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, or has to be a nail? So I wanted to throw a group of our Korean students into, I want you now to help them figure out what it would look like to be a social enterprise. And again, it's really funny, but they're a technology company. You're like, I know. Well, who do they work with? What's the population that's vulnerable or poor? They don't. Right? So you need to figure out what it looks like to be social enterprise. What a great challenge, right? They work with the CEO, they had conversations with the CEO, and with the different hosts, so they got to know the business model of the company. And to fast forward, then what they do is they have to give a final presentation to their colleagues in the classroom, to their peers, to the staff of Just Business, who's investing in this company, and to, if possible, Velocity employees or leaders. That's the best scenario, to get everyone in the room. And they have to give a public presentation. Now imagine, many of them are not as confident in English as you are, so this is a real personal growth challenge, right? To not only present publicly in English or another language that's not your native language, but also you're putting ideas out there suggesting that they could do something else differently. So the ideas they come up, I love. I thought it was fantastic, and now we're trying to implement it. So the first thing is that part of an ecosystem of creating a world and movement of social enterprise is bringing on board people who typically don't see themselves as having a bridge. I think a lot of people understand the concept of I want to do good in the world, I want to have more meaning, but they don't know what they can do as an accountant. They don't know what they can do as a tech engineer. Because there's this concept, if you want to do good in the world, you need to take a week of vacation and go to southern Thailand and build a school. That's what social goodness looks like. Rather than saying, no, when someone comes to me that's an executive of a company and says, hey, how could I take a week and help you? I said, I don't want your 1 week, I want your life. Because you are uniquely gifted in certain areas. That's what you should be given to changing the world. Not that week where, I'm going to teach you how to do some carpentry to build a school. See what I'm saying? Is that we ask people to do things that is really outside of necessarily their skill set rather than deploying what's best about what they can give. So they had a great idea. They said, okay, how about every hour that Velocity serves a client, we invest $1 into, or $1 for every hour into that community for social change. And then we tell the professionals about how they can get involved in those projects, different bridges to the new community. So you're moving to San Francisco. We have an incredible human trafficking shelter there, and we have this capacity and need in that area, right? So recruiting more people into the ecosystem by letting them know that for every hour they use our service, their money is going to that project. So if they were in Amsterdam, what we would do, we would say, because of the fact that you are moving to Amsterdam and you are giving to our culinary school for our women coming out of the red light district, we are going to give you opportunities to engage with that project. And by the way, here's a gift certificate to go have a meal at, build a bridge. So that was the first part, was the individual personal engagement, bringing more people into the ecosystem. Stage 2 was velocity plans to, because so let's say all of you are going to move to another city and you're going to need relocation. That's a lot of 6-week, 2-month apartments we need to find. So Velocity has a stage 2 plan to buy apartment buildings. Now, a big problem with homeless and, say, victims of human trafficking is no shelter, particularly in U.S. cities. Right? So part of stage 2 planning was with these apartments, we're going to reserve 2-3 of those apartments would be for at-risk people who can live with the professionals who are moving to that town, to again engage them in the community. So provide more housing while we develop that, and tell the employees that because Netflix, eBay, Tesla are using our service, we're giving back to the community in your name. So it's the beginning of getting them to think about you're moving to a community. The thing that Netflix loves about this, or eBay loves about this, is that there's a real animosity in a place like San Francisco for these companies that are changing the culture by virtue of the fact they're bringing all these professionals in. San Francisco used to be a very diverse place. It used to be a place where a lot of different people live. Now you go to a bar, it's all young white professionals who look like each other. Or professionals not necessarily that are European American, but they all share the same culture. And so there's a real animosity towards Netflix and Google and Twitter in San Francisco. And so they love this, like, oh wow, we're going to be giving back to our community. So every time we bring someone, that person, by virtue of coming, is going to be giving back to investing in the future of that community. This is the presentation the students gave. And we adopted it. The students were terrifically impacted by being able to do that. We loved it because it was useful. There's nothing worse than an internship where you're just trying to create busy work. So we find that it was giving them a project we really wanted to figure out. And for the students, it was great that they had the confidence that they did, they formed something out of nothing. So that, in essence, is our goal now as we move to Change University, or for short, Change U, great branding, right? That this has the opportunity to create those experiences where you're going to be thrown into a situation where you have to figure out how to use your skills. Now, we'll match people. We're not going to send someone to Bulgaria who knows nothing about data analytics, right? So, do you have any background in data? Okay, you're perfect for this. Even though you've never created a system for a company, you'll learn to do that, right? Marketing and social media, you've never created a marketing plan, you're going to learn how to do that on behalf of a company in Ecuador that produces chocolate, but they don't have good relationships in terms of the buyers who can buy their chocolate. So this is the direction that our own educational program and startup is going. Thank you. Oh, questions? Yeah, I guess so, no? Okay.
Yeah. So, David, I have 2 questions. One is that I'm a bit personally torn inside about what you call good business versus impact business.
Yes.
I don't have the answer for that, and it sounds like you have a more clear point of view. Because one side, I do want more of these great examples to become mainstream. So I really am a great advocate to make this a standard business concept, not any type of label. At the same time, this is a different way of doing business.
It is.
Not everybody who are good business people will agree this is necessary. And you made that choice. There was a bit of a moral, ethical choice that this is a good business model.
Yes.
But not everyone would agree that this is necessary, but at least to the cost benefits of it. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about, there's 2 viewpoints and how you respond to somebody who will say, this is cute, but it's not, I'm not sure if that's necessary. That's one thought. And the other thought is the purpose of the learning session is that what do you do with the students any tips for reflection once they immerse themselves into practicing this? When for learning purposes, do you do anything special for them to reflect on these experiences.
Yeah. No, and you know, it's, I think it's a right question. I get that from my investors or potential investors. And it's more of a question of, okay, Z Shoes is simple for them to understand as a social impact business. Because we go to the Amazon of Peru, we work with rubber tappers who take latex out of the tree, cotton from it, we create a shoe, we're creating jobs. So that's a very direct and literal ability to see if that's a social impact business. This does not feel as much like a social impact business. It feels like a business that wants to do good. You know? And I guess it's yesterday, this continuum that Eddie was talking about, as a venture capitalist, I'm not sure whether or not, you know, I'm going to call it a social enterprise. I'm trying to make good money by creating a better world. But it's the definition of that, right? And I guess I'm pushing the envelope on saying, let's create a world where everyone feels the engagement back to the community, rather than having a very tightly defined understanding of that is a social business or that is not a social business. I just want businesses that do good. That's one answer. Not that that's the right answer, but I'm saying my perception of this. The second one is as a bringing in investment. And this is like scaling what we're doing. So I have my approach to, and I didn't have a chance to talk about this yesterday, my approach to bringing in more investment money. Because today you're very limited by people who understand that, okay, I really don't think that companies that do social enterprise will give me a return that I want. So I used to give charity. Now I'm going to shift a little bit of my charity money to a little bit more entrepreneurial work. And you find this with family offices. If you're not familiar with family offices, they're wealthy families who set aside their investment money. If I go to them and say, hey, I want you to invest in Z Shoes, they say, yeah, you know what, I don't see that fitting our investment profile. But we will give a little bit of money from our charity fund. Now what I become then is I become someone who is a charity worker who's become a little bit more edgy. I'm not a venture capitalist again, providing them with competitive investments to create a better world. So the reason I give that background, the way that then we now approach investment profile, we'll put together 3 or 4 companies. And the way that we bind them together is that you now invest into our investment group. You don't invest just in the Z Shoes. You don't invest just in the sock company that is being made by homeless people. You invest in a portfolio of 3 or 4 companies. Some I define as high impact, probably lower social return, or financial return. Velocity would fit into high financial return, low social impact. And so we define that and say, look, the entire aggregate of your investment will be creating this kind of financial return for the investor and this kind of social impact as an aggregate. So I'm blending the high impact, low return and financial. Not that I would take on Dow Chemical, polluting the rich. Okay, I'm going to make them apart. But it's creating, you see what I'm saying, a hybrid mix of companies that would allow you as an investor to get both high social return and high financial return. The reason I do that is every investor says, what I really want is I want high social return and high financial return. You say, yeah, I would like to be able to fly. They pretend that they really don't want to invest in something that is just financial return, but if I don't give them a financial return, they will never invest with me again. So I guess what I'm pushing for, not only here, but in the United States community, is let's be strategic about how we bring companies into a portfolio. I can say to Velocity, sorry, you're not social enough for us, you're not going to be involved. But as I'm trying, this is experimental, by the way, this is why I like your question, because I don't know the answer. We're in flux on this. But I want to push the envelope on companies like, say if Twitter come to me when it was beginning, and I was in a place where I could invest in them. Okay, I want Twitter to be now, how would I make that a social impact company? It's going to be high return, financially probably, because I believe the model, just like Velocity, I believe it's going to be really high return. But what would be the social component that would then put it into a portfolio? So that's my answer. Now for the students, we have this conversation. And then it's a very meaningful conversation about, well, what would social impact mean? Is this really social impact? They're really not directly helping human trafficking victims, yeah? So, I don't know if that addresses your question. Yeah. Well, it's very much a privilege now to give you over to someone who's going to have a meaningful conversation with you, and that's Hannah.